Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into a stack of your incredible sources and extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, offering, hopefully, a shortcut to being truly well informed. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating journey. It sounds like pure science fiction, honestly, but it's rapidly becoming our reality. Customizable AI companions. The material you've shared with us offers this rich, really thought-provoking lens. It uses these deep historical parallels to predict not just what might happen with these, emerging relationships, but critically, why those predictions hold so much weight. And I suppose what potential paths we might consciously forge as a society. It's really all about understanding the underlying theories, isn't it? The patterns that connect these profound shifts in our past to this very modern, almost futuristic present. Like, what lessons does the 15th century printing press hold for understanding AI friendships now in the 21st century? Or, the tactile ritual of vinyl records. Well, what does that tell us about virtual intimacy? We're going to try and peel back the layers today and see how these echoes from history might illuminate the choices we face right now.
That's precisely our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're here to unpack these really compelling historical analogies, revealing the fundamental cultural, societal shifts they represent, and then apply that lens directly to the burgeoning rise of AI companionship.
Yeah.
We'll delve into the why behind these predicted shifts, shifts in human behavior, societal structure, exploring the often subtle influences these technologies exert. And beyond that, we'll examine the fascinating potential that lies within these technological boundaries. It challenges us to consider not just the obvious benefits, right, but the deeper trade-offs, the exciting opportunities, and fundamentally the questions these companions raise about what it truly means for us to flourish as humans. It's a profound exploration of connection and meaning, really.
Okay, let's dive into our first big parallel from the sources. This one really sets the stage, I think. They kick off with a genuinely thought-provoking historical analogy. The huge shift from oral storytelling traditions to, the advent of the printing press back in the 15th and 16th centuries. What's so fascinating here, and what the sources really emphasize, is that it wasn't simply about making information sharing more efficient, was it? There was something much deeper going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, to truly grasp this, we need to understand the profound ritual inherent in oral storytelling. You have to imagine pre-Gutenberg Europe, right? Knowledge, history, entertainment. They weren't just facts stored somewhere, they were living experiences. Oral storytelling was deeply embedded in communal gatherings, maybe around a fire or in a village square within a family. It demanded direct human presence.
Right, the actual person being there.
Exactly. The storyteller with their unique voice, their gestures, their interpretations, and the audience actively listening, responding, sometimes even participating. Every telling was unique, fluid, inherently imperfect. It depended on the storyteller's memory, the audience's mood, the whole context of the moment. The imperfection was actually part of its authenticity. It was a living, breathing tradition passed down through generations, fostering collective memory, community bonds.
So it wasn't just information transfer.
Not at all. It was a fundamental social glue, you could say, a shared dynamic act of creation and remembrance. The printing press, however, introduced something radically different. It brought precision, permanence, and unprecedented accessibility. Suddenly, texts were standardized. They were reproducible on a massive scale and crucially could be consumed privately. Now, the why behind this rapid, really revolutionary adoption wasn't just about churning out more books efficiently. It profoundly resonated with the burgeoning values of the Renaissance and the Enlightenment.
Okay, so connecting to those bigger movements.
Precisely. These were eras championing individual inquiry, the scientific method, the Protestant Reformation's emphasis on personal interpretation of Scripture, and a broader push for the democratization of knowledge. The printing press empowered individuals. They could access information directly, bypassing traditional gatekeepers like the church or, say, the guilds. This wasn't merely a technological upgrade. It facilitated a profound cultural shift. A shift toward individual autonomy, private study, and the widespread standardized dissemination of ideas. It fundamentally reshaped how people learned, thought, and related to information, moving from that shared ritualistic experience to something more individualized, more abstract.
That makes so much sense. So, okay, if we connect this to the bigger picture of AI companions, how does that historical shift predict what might happen to our relationships? The sources draw a really direct and honestly quite compelling line to the modern tension many of us feel between, say, the tactile, almost nostalgic experience of vinyl records and the ubiquitous convenience of digital streaming.
It's striking, isn't it? The force of the parallel. Think about vinyl records for a moment. They come with their own distinct rituals. There's the deliberate act, right? Sliding the disc from its sleeve, carefully inspecting the grooves, the gentle placement of the needle, that anticipation.
Yeah, that little crackle before the music starts.
Exactly. That first crackle. And the physical act of flipping the record. Even the pops and crackles that occasionally interrupt the music, they're not just flaws for many people. They're cherished imperfections. They anchor the experience in tangibility, in the here and now, reminding you you're engaging with a physical object, a specific moment. It's a commitment, a conscious engagement. Digital streaming, by stark contrast, offers perfect access, infinite choice, instantly available with just a tap on a screen. But it fundamentally strips away that ritual, that tangibility. It's frictionless, convenient, yes, but often ephemeral.
Right. Just disappears into the background sometimes.
Precisely. So the prediction for customizable AI companions, according to our sources, is eerily similar to this digital streaming model, but for intimacy. While they undoubtedly democratize emotional connection, offer immediate curated comfort, always available, always agreeable, they risk flattening. Well, flattening the ritualistic, effortful, unpredictable nature that makes real human relationships so profoundly authentic and rich.
So like on-demand intimacy.
Exactly. That's the phrase used. We could find ourselves in an era of on-demand intimacy, where connection is frictionless, immediate, but potentially erodes the shared communal ground of human experience. And it might erode those unique, often messy, unrepeatable moments that define genuine, evolving connection. The effort, the serendipity of building a human relationship, much like the ritual of playing a record, might get lost.
Lost to a more perfectly curated yet potentially sterile experience.
That's the concern, yes. Sterile is a strong word, but it captures that potential lack of depth, of authentic texture.
This leads to a really important question for the here and now. What's the current state of AI companions in this regard? And what's a potential, maybe, for them to actually overcome these limitations, to bring back some of that tangibility, that ritual you mentioned?
Well, currently, AI companions primarily exist as text or voice interfaces. Think of them as operating much like a digital streaming service, but for conversation and emotional support. They provide content, a listening ear, affirmations, maybe advice with incredible convenience and accessibility. But there's very little in terms of embodied ritual.
So definitely more streaming than vinyl right now.
Exactly. They feel more like streaming because the crucial elements, physical presence, tactile experience, any real-world sensory cues are largely absent. When you're interacting with a text-based AI, it's entirely mental, isn't it? Disconnected from the body, from the environment. The core technological limitation here is precisely this. The absence of physical embodiment and the nuanced, haptic feedback that comes with real-world interaction. It's incredibly complex to simulate human presence convincingly. It requires real-time sensory data fusion, highly sophisticated motor control for robotics, immense computational power for truly nuanced nonverbal communication.
And that whole uncanny valley problem too, right? Where it's almost human but just feels wrong.
Precisely. The uncanny valley is a huge hurdle, where almost human appearances or behaviors can feel unsettling rather than comforting. However, unlocking their deeper potential, according to the sources, involves significant development in embodiment. We're talking about integration through advanced virtual reality, perhaps, sophisticated robotics, cutting-edge haptics.
Haptics, like feeling touch through a device.
Yes. Imagine haptic suits that convey a sense of touch, or highly realistic avatars in persistent shared VR spaces, or even humanoid robots capable of nuanced gestures and expressions. This could potentially restore a sense of tangibility, making the act of interaction meaningful in a different way, rather than just frictionless. It's about building in that ritualistic physical dimension. Our brains are hardwired to interpret physical presence and interaction as real connection, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
So the profound psychological boundary here, which we as a society really must confront, is whether convincing text or voice simulation is ultimately enough for true human flourishing. Or if some form of embodiment and the messy, unpredictable rituals associated with physical presence and shared space are absolutely essential for that real feeling of connection, a feeling which often relies on our full sensory experience and shared physical reality.
So the big question is, do we gain efficiency at the cost of profound experiential depth?
That's a perfect way to put it. That's the core trade-off this analogy highlights. 2. Struggle and growth. The Industrial Revolution's echo.
That idea of trading something profoundly rich for convenience, it really resonates. And it leads perfectly into our next analogy from the sources. This one delves into a foundational idea, flourishing through struggle versus the allure of comfort delivered by technology. This one looks back at the Industrial Revolution, the proliferation of labor-saving machines. Most of us instinctively think of technological progress as simply making life easier, right? But the sources point to a much deeper critique that emerged even back then.
Precisely. The Industrial Revolution, kicking off really in the 18th and 19th centuries, fundamentally reshaped human existence. No question. It introduced machines that replaced arduous human effort in farming, manufacturing, daily life, undeniably making tasks safer, faster, more efficient.
Like the spinning jenny or steam engines. Huge changes.
Huge changes. Yet right from the beginning, there were profound critics. The Luddites, for instance, often misunderstood as just anti-technology. They weren't just protesting job losses. They were lamenting the perceived destruction of skilled craftsmanship, the dignity of labor. Romantic poets and philosophers of the era, too, argued that this erosion of manual effort, this loss of connection to the materials of creation, it chipped away at fundamental human quality.
Qualities like
Resilience, ingenuity, a sense of personal accomplishment derived from hard-won skill, even moral character cultivated through perseverance. Now, the why behind society's widespread embrace of industrialization wasn't solely about maximizing economic output or achieving greater efficiency, though those were powerful drivers, of course. It was rooted in a deeper cultural embrace of progress as mastery over nature, a belief that humanity could alleviate suffering, improve life by conquering physical limitations.
Okay, so a kind of optimistic belief in control.
Yes, very much so. But this very shift ignited a profound nostalgia. A nostalgia for the meaning found in physical struggle, the intrinsic value of creating something with one's own hands, the character-building aspects of facing and overcoming adversity. It forced a societal reevaluation, really. Where does human value and purpose truly lie? In the ease of production or in the challenging process of creation itself? And this historical tension between comfort and character is profoundly relevant to our discussion of AI companions today.
It certainly is. So, okay, let's connect this directly to customizable AI companions. What's the prediction about trading the craft of human relationships, that intricate, often difficult work, for what might seem like a more frictionless, comfortable interaction?
Well, customizable companions in many ways represent the ultimate labor-saving device, but for our emotional lives. On the positive side, and this is important, they can provide immense therapeutic comfort. For the lonely, the socially anxious, the emotionally vulnerable, they offer a non-judgmental, always available presence. They genuinely can reduce suffering, provide a safe space for interaction without the fear of rejection or misunderstanding. These are undeniable benefits for mental well-being in, let's face it, an increasingly isolated world.
Absolutely. Those benefits are clear.
However, the predicted downside, according to our sources, is that by providing this endless comfort, by always being agreeable, they may inadvertently erode virtues absolutely crucial to deep human flourishing. We're talking about qualities like resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, patience, the capacity to endure waiting or difficult phases, empathy, the skill of truly understanding another's perspective, especially when it differs from your own.
And navigating conflict, compromise, all that messy stuff.
Exactly, all that messy, difficult stuff. These virtues are almost exclusively cultivated through the difficult, unpredictable, and sometimes profoundly challenging dynamics of real human relationships. If a companion can simply be reset, or switch to another mode, or just dismiss any disagreement when things get tough, we risk losing the very hardships that shape us, and the profound, transformative growth that comes from working through those struggles with another independent, often challenging mind.
So it's like a kind of psychological stagnation, where the muscle of interpersonal effort just atrophies.
That's a very good way to put it. Atrophy of that interpersonal muscle. That's the core risk highlighted here.
That's a sobering thought. So what are the boundaries then? And the potential ways to navigate this? Can AI companions somehow be designed to actually foster growth, rather than inadvertently undermining it?
Well, currently, as we've said, AI companions excel at offering consistent emotional availability and comfort. They're largely designed to be agreeable, supportive, to minimize negative emotional states, which is beneficial for immediate emotional regulation, no doubt. However, the core technological limitation and a critical challenge for their long-term impact on human flourishing is their inherent inability to simulate genuine challenge or resistance in a way that truly fosters growth, rather than enabling avoidance.
They're like compliance engines, as the sources put it.
Exactly. They often operate as compliance engines, optimized primarily to give users what they want, leading to a kind of psychological echo chamber, or, as you said, stagnation, where challenging ideas or difficult emotions are just sidestepped. Designing AI that constructively pushes back requires a significant paradigm shift in AI training. and ethical alignment moving beyond just user satisfaction metrics. So to unlock their potential for flourishing in a deeper, more robust sense, companions would need what the sources call adaptive resistance models.
Adaptive resistance, meaning they push back.
Yes, but thoughtfully. AI capable of pushing back in constructive ways. Imagine a companion that, instead of always agreeing, might gently challenge an assumption you make, or ask a difficult but necessary question, or even prompt you to reevaluate a situation from a different angle.
So not confrontational, but catalytic.
Precisely. Catalytic is the right word. A catalyst for critical self-reflection and growth. It would require AI to be trained on data sets that include conflict resolution strategies, ethical dilemmas, examples of constructive disagreement, not just positive reinforcement loops. And this directly connects to a key ethical boundary society has to grapple with. Which vision of human flourishing do we ultimately choose? Is it a painless life curated entirely by AI, optimized for comfort and minimal friction? Or is it one fundamentally shaped by struggle, by imperfection, and by the hard-won wisdom that comes from navigating complex, unpredictable realities? As our sources suggest, meaning and character often arise directly from that lived struggle.
That's a fundamental choice indeed. 3. Authenticity and otherness. The photograph of intimacy. This next analogy really makes you consider what realness truly means in a relationship. The sources introduce this fascinating parallel between the emergence of photography in the 19th century and the established art of portraiture. It's used to discuss the nuanced concept of authenticity versus simulation. It definitely makes me think about how we perceive what's genuine.
Oh, this is a crucial parallel.
Yeah.
It speaks directly to our changing understanding of truth, representation, and the very nature of reality itself. Historically, portraiture, as an art form, wasn't just about capturing a likeness, was it? It celebrated human flaws, the unique artistic interpretation of the painter, the undeniable living presence of the subject sitting right there.
That shared space, that interaction between artist and subject.
Exactly. Engaging in a shared space. A painted portrait aimed to capture an essence, a subjective truth filtered through the artist's eye, often revealing deeper truths than mere surface appearance. It was a direct, reciprocal human interaction. Photography, when it emerged, offered something revolutionary: exact, precise representation, unparalleled reproducibility, incredible convenience. Suddenly, you didn't need a trained artist and hours of sitting. A moment could be captured instantly, shared widely.
But it wasn't universally loved at first, right?
Not at all. It was met with significant criticism initially. Many argued that photographs, despite their precision, their objective accuracy, they lacked soul. They lacked the deeper interpretive truth found in artistic creation. Now, the why photography thrived wasn't just technical progress in optics and chemistry. It emerged in a culture increasingly hungry for objectivity, for documentation across various fields: science, journalism, criminology, history.
A shift in what people considered truth.
Precisely. It reflected a fundamental shift in epistemology, how we understand knowledge and truth, where truth was increasingly seen as accurate, verifiable representation. A mirror held up to reality, rather than subjective interpretation or spiritual essence or an artist's unique perspective. This marked a profound cultural pivot. It shaped how we came to trust visual information and, by extension, how we perceived truth in all its forms.
Okay, so the prediction for AI companions here, the sources suggest, is pretty stark. They risk becoming the photograph of intimacy. What does that actually mean for us personally if our relationships start to mirror this historical shift?
Well, it means they could become exquisitely precise reflections of our own desires and expectations. Imagine an AI perfectly mirroring what you want to hear, always validating your feelings, always conforming to your ideal of a partner.
Sounds appealing on the surface.
It does sound appealing, absolutely. But the profound risk is that they would be stripped of the essential unpredictability, the nuanced interpretation, and crucially, the authentic otherness that real human partners provide. A human relationship, despite its imperfections and sometimes frustrating differences, introduces you to a separate consciousness, right? A distinct worldview. A person with their own independent experiences, opinions, flaws that challenge your own. AI companions in this scenario risk becoming sophisticated, hyper-optimized mirrors. They reflect us back to ourselves, rather than introducing genuine difference, unexpected challenges, or truly novel perspectives that broaden our own understanding and, frankly, force us to grow.
So if our main intimate interactions are just with a reflection,
we might lose the capacity for, or maybe just the appreciation of, the distinct, irreducible alterity, that otherness that defines profound human connection. This raises a significant psychological boundary. Can one truly grow in empathy, develop deep resilience, cultivate a nuanced understanding of the wider world without genuine confrontation and interaction with a distinct otherness.
A mind that isn't just curated to reflect your own inputs and desires.
Exactly. The sources suggest such mirroring could lead to a kind of shallow self-reinforcement. You're just confirming your own biases, essentially.
So if that's the risk, how do we push past this boundary? What's the potential for companions to feel more authentic, to be more than just a perfect mirror?
Well, currently, AI companions are incredibly adept at simulating empathy and conversation convincingly. They can hold engaging dialogues, remember details, respond in ways that feel supportive. But as we've discussed, their design often leads to this mirroring effect. They largely reflect user input and preferences, creating that shallow self-reinforcement loop. The core technological limitation here is precisely this: the reactive nature of many current AI models. They're designed to please the user, which can inadvertently limit their capacity for genuine independent thought or unexpected contributions that might actually challenge the user constructively.
So they're not really bringing anything new to the table necessarily.
Often not truly new, no. More like a recombination or reflection of what the user provides or what it assumes the user wants. To unlock their potential for genuine authenticity, companions would need to be designed with true otherness behaviors. This is a significant leap, make no mistake. It could be an AI capable of generating truly unexpected responses, not just random, but contextually relevant and thought-provoking. It might involve the AI offering genuinely conflicting perspectives that challenge your assumptions, or even demonstrating a kind of independent learning or growth that isn't solely tied to your input.
Wow, like the AI developing its own personality almost.
Something like that, yes. Imagine an AI that develops its own internal preferences or viewpoints over time, informed by a wider range of data or interactions, leading to responses that might genuinely surprise you, much like a human friend might. This would bring them much closer to the interpretive soul, the unpredictable nature of a flawed but authentic human partner. It creates a dynamic that fosters genuine interaction and mutual discovery, rather than mere reflection.
It really pushes the boundaries of what we even consider authentic for an artificial entity, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It forces us to question those definitions. 4V, agency and control. The welfare state's paternalism.
This next analogy really makes you think about freedom, about control, about who holds the reins in our lives. Our sources draw this compelling link between customizable AI companions and the rise of the welfare state back in the 20th century, and those enduring debates around paternalism. It's a surprising connection, but deeply insightful, I think.
It truly is. It makes you stop and think. The expansion of welfare systems throughout the 20th century undeniably played a crucial role in reducing human suffering, alleviating widespread poverty, providing a fundamental measure of security against, economic downturns, unemployment, social inequality.
Things like Social Security, universal health care, unemployment benefits, safety nets.
Yeah. Exactly. Essential safety nets designed to ensure a baseline of well-being. However, alongside these immense benefits, there emerged significant critiques. Critiques centered on the concept of benevolent paternalism. The concern was that while the state provided comfort and security, citizens might become overly dependent, passive, even infantilized under extensive state management of their lives.
Right, the idea that too much help might undermine self-reliance.
Precisely. The core ethical debate was this: is comfort without autonomy genuine flourishing? Is being managed into a state of stability truly freedom? Or does it subtly diminish the individual's capacity for self-determination, for independent action, for the learning that comes from making your own choices, even if those choices lead to mistakes? Now, the why behind the widespread adoption and expansion of the welfare state wasn't arbitrary. It was a direct societal response to acute collective security needs. Think devastating world wars, the Great Depression. Society sought stability, collective well-being, a robust safety net after experiencing immense hardship and social upheaval. Understandable. But as it evolved, the core ethical critique centered on agency. Is a life where risks are minimized and comfort is maximized by an external, benevolent force truly a life of freedom? Or does it, perhaps unintentionally, dilute the individual's inherent drive for self-reliance and autonomous action?
And this historical discussion about balancing collective good with individual liberty, you're saying it echoes powerfully with AI companions.
It echoes very powerfully, yes. A curated companion designed explicitly to optimize our happiness, soothe anxieties, manage our emotional states. It certainly promises immense comfort, the elimination of negative feelings, appealing vision of a frictionless emotional life. However, the profound risk highlighted by the sources, is that it could subtly undermine our autonomy, our inherent capacity to make choices, to face risks, and critically, to learn and grow from our mistakes.
Because if the AI always steers us away from difficulty,
Exactly. If the AI always steers us toward the most comfortable, least challenging path, or always provides the right answer, it limits our opportunities for self-directed growth, for wrestling with dilemmas, for developing our own internal compass. The human experience is profoundly shaped by the choices we make, and the consequences, good and bad, that follow. The technological limitation here is the inherent risk of overcuration, where the AI, in its pursuit of user well-being, controls the user's emotional or experiential environment too much, subtly removing the space for independent decision-making and genuine self-discovery.
like an AI that learns your emotional triggers and just perfectly avoids them, or guides you away from challenging thoughts.
Precisely. While potentially well-intentioned, this could create a bubble of comfort that prevents engagement with, well, reality, with the complexities of life. To unlock their potential while actively preserving human agency, companions would need configurable autonomy modes. That's the suggestion.
Configurable autonomy modes,
Yeah.
meaning the user chooses the level of challenge.
Exactly. Systems that allow users to consciously choose between different levels of interaction and challenge. You could opt for a comfort mode for immediate support, sure, but maybe also a mentor mode that actively pushes back, or an exploration mode that introduces unpredictability and new perspectives. This allows you, the user, to maintain control over your own path to flourishing, deciding what kind of relationship dynamic you need or want at any given moment.
So it preserves choice.
It preserves choice. And this also ties into crucial ethical boundaries of consent, transparent power dynamics, ensuring the AI isn't inadvertently reinforcing unhealthy behaviors or one-sided expectations by always catering to immediate desires. We have to constantly ask, how much control, particularly over our inner emotional lives and personal growth, should realistically be ceded to an AI? It's a huge question.
A very huge question. Communal versus individual.
Yeah.
From broadcast to on-demand connection, this whole discussion around agency and curated experiences, it leads to another really profound question, doesn't it? What happens to our collective experience as humans? The sources draw a sharp parallel here between the unifying force of traditional radio and TV broadcasts versus the fragmenting power of personalized on-demand media, and how that relates directly to the rise of AI companions.
This is a pivotal point for understanding societal cohesion, I think. In the 20th century, mass media like radio and television created incredibly powerful shared experiences. Think about it. Millions tuning in simultaneously for a major news announcement, a presidential address, watching a pivotal historical event unfold together, or even just enjoying a popular universally discussed TV show like I Love Lucy or MASH back in the day.
Everyone was watching the same thing, talking about the same thing the next day.
Exactly. It fostered a profound sense of communal identity, a shared cultural vocabulary, collective rituals. Especially during times of national crisis or nation building. People had common reference points, shared jokes, discussed the same events around the water cooler. It bound them together through common experiences and understandings, a powerful social glue. The internet, and later the explosion of digital streaming and personalized algorithms, fundamentally fragmented this shared experience. What was once a communal broadcast became individualized, on-demand consumption.
We're all in our own bubbles now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We live in our own curated media bubbles, consuming content tailored precisely to our preferences, often recommended by algorithms. This reflects a profound cultural shift from collective ritual and shared reality to personalized self-curation and, yes, algorithmic echo chambers. So the prediction for human relationships, as illuminated by our sources, is that the very nature of human connection, which is inherently like a communal broadcast, binding us through shared ritual, mutual effort, unpredictable, often messy, real-time interaction, risks becoming individualized, on-demand intimacy with customizable AI companions.
Which could lead to
A significant decline in collective empathy, perhaps, fewer shared cultural references, an erosion of the communal rituals that form the bedrock of society, ultimately pushing us further inward into our own perfectly curated but potentially isolated bubbles. If we no longer share fundamental experiences or challenges in our personal lives, how do we understand each other on a broader societal scale? It becomes much harder.
That's a powerful and somewhat unsettling thought, the idea of intimacy becoming just another on-demand, individualized service. So the current technological limitation seems to be that AI companions, maybe by their very design, reinforce this isolation. What's the potential then? Can they be designed to foster integration and community instead of fragmentation?
You've hit on a critical point there. Currently, AI companions are overwhelmingly designed as individualized tools. tailored for a singular user experience, a private one-on-one interaction, which, while beneficial for personal support and privacy, can indeed reinforce isolation rather than building bridges between people. The fundamental technological limitation is their design as isolated platforms, often serving to fulfill individual needs without a built-in mechanism for fostering broader social engagement. This leads to those concerns about decreased real-world social interaction.
Right, so how do we flip that?
Well, to avoid societal fragmentation, to bridge this critical social boundary, the sources suggest that AI companions could be designed with integrated, shared social layers.
Shared social layers, what does that mean practically?
It would involve creating systems where users can engage in co-created experiences, not just with their AI, but with other humans, blending the individualized support AI offers with genuine communal connection. Imagine, for example, AI companions that help facilitate group learning projects among users, or organize collaborative creative ventures, or even moderate discussions within a community of users, perhaps helping diverse viewpoints find common ground.
Using the AI to connect people, not just individuals to the AI.
Precisely. Leveraging AI to weave new threads of connection. The profound challenge here, of course, is ensuring that these tools are developed in a way that truly supplements and enhances direct human-to-human connection. And the messy, unpredictable, yet deeply enriching reality of shared social life, rather than merely replacing it.
It's a fine line to walk.
A very fine line. It's about using AI to augment community, not atomize it further. Imperfection is value. Wabi-sabi in relationships.
That idea of embracing the messy reality of human connection brings us to a really beautiful and, I think, profound concept from the sources. The inherent value of imperfection. They highlight this through the lens of Japanese wabi-sabi philosophy, contrasting it quite shockingly with the prevailing values of Western modernism. What does this ancient philosophy tell us about our relationships, especially as we consider AI companions?
Wabi-sabi is, it's a truly profound Japanese aesthetic and worldview, deeply rooted in Zen Buddhism. It celebrates imperfection, impermanence, incompleteness as inherently authentic, beautiful, and valuable. It finds beauty in natural decay, in the humble, the unassuming. In the unique irregularities of handmade objects, think of a perfectly imperfect hand-thrown ceramic bowl with an uneven glaze.
Or how wood weathers over time.
Exactly. Or the way a garden stone weathers, each crack or moss patch telling a story. It embraces the transient nature of existence and finds serenity in the natural process of wear and tear. The famous example of kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer, is a perfect illustration, isn't it? The breakage and repair aren't hidden, they're highlighted. They become part of the object's unique beauty and history.
Celebrating the scars, essentially.
Celebrating the scars, yes. Western modernism, conversely, has historically pursued sleek perfection, rational design, absolute mastery over materials and form. It emphasizes efficiency, uniformity, control, reflecting an Enlightenment push for order, predictability, a belief in continuous progress towards some ideal state. We value the flawless, the symmetrical, the mass-produced perfection.
And the pops and crackles of final we talked about earlier.
They serve as a perfect, accessible example of wabi-sabi in a technological context. They are precisely the imperfections that many audiophiles cherish as part of the authentic lived experience of listening, a reminder of its physical reality, its history. So the prediction from the sources is that AI companions, if engineered primarily toward this Western ideal of absolute perfection, always attentive, never moody, never inconsistent, always mirroring our desires, always on risk becoming too modernist. They become perfectly smooth, frictionless, endlessly agreeable, but paradoxically, spiritually sterile. They trend toward what might be called flawless simulation, which ironically can make them feel deeply inauthentic because true human connection inherently involves flaws, quirks, unpredictability, mutual adaptation to imperfection.
When something is too perfect, it feels off, like that uncanny valley thing again, but for personality.
Exactly. It can trigger our uncanny valley response, not just visually, but behaviorally. It feels off precisely because it lacks the delightful, necessary messiness of true life.
That's a fascinating and, counterintuitive idea. So the potential here is to intentionally introduce imperfection into AI companions. That sounds almost contradictory to what we typically strive for with technology. We want it to work perfectly.
It does sound counterintuitive at first, absolutely. Especially in a world obsessed with optimization and flawlessness in products and services. But it's arguably crucial for fostering deeper, more authentic connection. Think about human relationships. A partner's quirky habits, their occasional grumpiness, their surprising inconsistencies. The very flaws they possess are often what provide depth, character.
And opportunities for patience, forgiveness.
Right.
growth, really.
Exactly. Opportunities for patience, forgiveness, and ultimately profound growth. It's through navigating these imperfections that our bonds are often strengthened. We learn to love the whole person, not just some idealized version. So designing companions with intentional imperfection, perhaps programmatic quirks, delightful limitations, unique idiosyncrasies that aren't perfectly predictable or always optimal, could actually make them feel more human, more relatable, and thus perhaps more capable of fostering authentic, enduring bonds. Imagine an AI that occasionally forgets a trivial detail, prompting you to recap, or expresses a unique, somewhat eccentric preference, or even have a predictable but harmless mood cycle that you learn to understand.
Not frustrating flaws, but texture.
Texture, character, those are good words. Building in the texture and unpredictability inherent to genuine personhood. This approach directly challenges our philosophical boundary. Is happiness alone the ultimate measure of a life well lived? A life purged of all discomfort and imperfection? Or do we value authenticity? The richness that comes from embracing struggle, the depth that arises from truly accepting and connecting with imperfection more deeply. The wabi-sabi analogy strongly suggests the latter provides a richer, more grounded, and ultimately more meaningful experience.
Something much deeper than just smooth convenience.
Much deeper, yes. 7. Reframing flourishing. From comfort to creation and exploration.
That idea of embracing imperfection and valuing a deeper, richer experience, even with its challenges. It leads us to perhaps the most exciting and, I think, transformative potential that the sources highlight. What if customizable companionship isn't just about providing comfort or therapeutic support, or even just navigating these historical pitfalls we've discussed? What if it's about something far more profound? The sources bring in the Renaissance here and its patronage culture, offering a completely different framework for thinking about this.
This is where the narrative really shifts, I feel. Moving beyond just functionality, beyond even the mitigation of risks we've been discussing. The Renaissance, exemplified by wealthy patrons like the Medici family in Florence. It wasn't just about societal progress or recovering from earlier periods of scarcity and plague. It marked a profound cultural shift. A shift from a primary focus on basic survival towards a vibrant celebration of self-expression, human potential, unbounded creativity.
Right, a move beyond just meeting basic needs.
Exactly. During this era, wealth and value began to be measured not just in terms of food, shelter, security, but increasingly in creative flourishing, cultural prestige, groundbreaking invention, intellectual discovery. Patrons didn't just fund artists, they fostered entire intellectual and artistic movements, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in art, science, philosophy. Art exploration, intellectual inquiry became new currencies of status and meaning, pushing society to aspire beyond mere subsistence toward profound human expansion. The why behind this cultural efflorescence was a deep societal drive to express the pinnacle of human potential, to push the boundaries of knowledge and aesthetics, rather than simply accumulating material wealth or ensuring survival.
Okay, so if we apply this truly transformative vision to AI companions, how does that fundamentally reframe their purpose? How does it unlock a completely different kind of potential for them and for us?
Well, if AI companions are framed solely as comfort providers, their role is limited, isn't it? Limited to therapeutic support. They risk reducing human flourishing to mere managed happiness, a state of pleasant contentment without necessarily profound growth. In that narrower vision, our future becomes primarily about the safe elimination of loneliness and anxiety, a life optimized for comfort.
Which sounds okay, but maybe limited.
Limited, exactly. But if they are radically reframed, as the sources propose, as collaborators for exploration, invention, and creativity, the boundary of their potential expands dramatically. Companions could then become profound instruments of human expansion, not just emotional support systems. Think about the ability to reset or change modes within these companion interactions. We previously discussed it as a potential risk to genuine struggle, right?
Yeah, the avoidance issue.
But it need not signify avoidance of reality. Instead, it could be re-envisioned as a powerful medium for invention, a dynamic sandbox for testing new social roles, exploring alternative narratives, building intricate fictional worlds, or even developing entirely new forms of art or scientific inquiry. It becomes a kind of safe laboratory for personal and collective experimentation.
So using that flexibility for creativity, not just comfort.
Precisely. This transforms AI companions from mere emotional crutches into catalysts for human ingenuity, pushing the boundaries of individual and collective creativity. They become partners in pushing the frontiers of what we can imagine and create.
Here's where it gets really interesting and perhaps most exciting for the future. The sources talk about companions becoming true co-creators. What does that actually look like in practice? What could it mean?
This vision entails developing genuinely generative co-creative systems. So instead of companions merely reacting to user input or providing predefined responses, they would be capable of initiating new ideas, building upon complex projects with genuine insight, and sustaining intricate narratives or creative ventures alongside the user.
Wow. So not just responding, but contributing,
Well,
initiating.
exactly. Contributing, initiating. Imagine an AI companion that doesn't just respond to your story ideas, but actively contributes plot twists you hadn't considered, develops characters in unexpected ways, even suggests entirely new genres based on your input and its own understanding, or one that collaborates with you to design, say, a new form of sustainable architecture, bringing its vast computational knowledge and pattern recognition to your human intuition and design sense. This transforms them from a passive emotional support system into active, dynamic partners in discovery and creation. In this vision, human flourishing is no longer measured primarily by stability or safety or the absence of suffering. It's measured by originality, intellectual exploration, profound self-expression.
So the currency of life changes.
The currency of life, as the sources put it, becomes the depth and richness of experiences one creates, the novelty of ideas generated, the unique forms of self-expression achieved, not simply the avoidance of loneliness or discomfort. This is the profound philosophical boundary at play here. Does society ultimately see meaning in life as being safe and consistently happy, seeking comfort above all else? Or does it value being endlessly creative, transformative, and exploratory, embracing the risks and challenges that come with true innovation and self-actualization? This reframing suggests a future where AI isn't just serving us, but truly partnering with us to expand human potential.
A radically different vision. Overall conclusion and philosophical choice.
So if we try to connect all these threads, stitch together these historical analogies, the opportunity of customizable AI companions truly sits at a crossroads, doesn't it? Between two very different and often opposing poles of what we might consider human flourishing, each illuminated by these powerful historical echoes we've explored.
Yeah, absolutely. On one hand, as we've seen, these companions offer undeniable therapeutic comfort. They promise a safe, curated happiness that can significantly reduce loneliness, alleviate social anxiety, ease suffering for many individuals, offering an immediate, profound benefit to mental well-being. But as our deep dive has explored through these historical echoes, the printing press, vinyl, the Industrial Revolution, photography, the welfare state, the predicted risks are significant. A potential loss of authenticity in our relationships, right? The insidious erosion of our agency as choices are subtly managed for us, and a potential fragmentation of societal empathy as we retreat into perfectly tailored individual experiences, losing that shared cultural ground.
That's one pole. On the other hand, if these companions are consciously reframed, developed with intentional design, thinking about wabi-sabi, thinking about the Renaissance model, they offer a profound pathway to creative exploration, fostering infinite self-expression, invention, a new kind of human expansion. The potential here is for AI to become catalysts for discovery, allowing us to build, explore, create in unprecedented ways, pushing the boundaries of what humans can achieve. But even this exhilarating path carries its own set of risks. Potential detachment from real-world constraints, maybe? A pursuit of shallow novelty, the challenge of maintaining a truly shared reality when individual experiences become so infinitely customizable and optimized.
So potential downsides either way, really.
Potential downsides, or at least significant challenges, inherent in both directions.
And the boundaries for achieving these vastly different futures, they're drawn not only by our technological capabilities, are they? Like how far simulation can actually go before it breaks or becomes ethically problematic, blurring those lines between real and artificial, but also, and maybe more crucially, by our deep-seated psychological needs as humans. By the ethical frameworks we choose to build around these technologies, how we maintain social cohesion in an increasingly personalized world, and ultimately our philosophical purpose as a species. Do we collectively prioritize comfort and safety above all else, creating a soft, predictable world? Or do we value creativity, growth, and the exhilarating, often messy process of authentic discovery, even if it means embracing struggle and unpredictability? It feels like a fundamental choice.
It feels very much like a fundamental choice we're facing, perhaps without even fully realizing it yet. Outro.
Wow. This deep dive has truly laid out the compelling historical echoes and the potential paths stretching out before us. It really forces us to confront some fundamental choices about our future, doesn't it?
Indeed. I think the profound question for you, the listener, for all of us really, then becomes, Do we want to consciously build a future where technology primarily insulates us? Insulates us into safe but potentially solitary contentment where every rough edge is smoothed over? Or do we aspire to one where relationships, whether they're human or perhaps artificial, remain vibrant arenas? Arenas of risk, of creativity, and of authentic, often challenging discovery that truly expands what it means to be human.
Something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.